Hi, I'm Steve Manchester. I was hoping to introduce myself to you today, as well as give you some insight on my life as a writer, how everything began, and pretty much how it's evolved to where I am today. In 1991, I served in the first Gulf War, Operation Desert Storm. I was a sergeant in a military police unit for the 7th Corps, United States Army. Saddam Hussein at the time said it would take us 6 months to get through the breach from Saudi Arabia into Iraq. It actually took us 17 minutes. And to say that it was a brutal experience would be an understatement. But the upside to it is I promised myself if I make it out of the desert alive, I would actually chase down my dream and become a published author. When I was a kid, my grandfather was a phenomenal storyteller. Unfortunately, he never put pen to paper, but I remember thinking, even as a little kid, what a powerful thing it is to be able to move people with words, right? It's one thing to make them laugh, which I tried to do most of my life, but to make somebody cry or to feel something very deeply, that's where the real power is found. So, needless to say, as you can see, I made it back. I came out of the desert, and I did everything I could to keep that promise to myself. But as you know, this is a very difficult and challenging industry, so it took me years really to get rolling. I worked for the Massachusetts Department of Correction as an IPS officer, which is essentially an investigator behind the wall. Spent about 10 years there beneath a dark cloud, again, like you can imagine. And but the upside to that was I actually spent some time learning how to write. I'd go to court, I'd get up on the stand, and somebody who was much smarter than me would kind of tear me apart on my 35-page investigative summaries. I'd go back, become a better writer, and this went on until I really learned how to put pen to paper. Fortunately, the first couple of books that I wrote were under a pen name, so as I'm cutting my teeth, I don't really have to, look back and say, oh my God, I wish I could, remove that work. It takes a while to really get to know or define your voice. Since that point in time, fast forward 25 years, I've been writing all that time, really perfecting my craft and really loving being able to create a story and having that one piece of conversation that I put on paper. Looking for that dialogue back to get that second half of the conversation. My wife Paul and I, we live in Somerset, Massachusetts, just south of Boston, if you can't tell by the accent. We have 4 beautiful children. We have Carissa, Evan, Jacob, and Isabella. 2 of them are pretty much grown and out of the nest. But the one thing I will say about my writing, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart, is they've inspired everything that I've done. Regardless of what the audience thinks or my readership, which thankfully has grown through the years. I always want them to really love what I write, but more importantly, I want my children to be able to embrace that and take some pride in that when they get older. In the last 5 years, I got together with Lou Aronica from the Story Plant, who's just been an absolute amazing person to work for. He's more of a mentor than anything else. We put out 5 books, 5 novels. Out of the 5, I'm happy to report 4 have gone to #1, one with Amazon, the other 3 with Barnes & Noble. So we've had a great run. We've built the readership, and I've gotten deeper and deeper into the craft where, I'm starting to look at what my readership wants. We met a couple years ago in Connecticut. You see, kind of what's next, and we decided to come up with a book that was more highly relatable, so the audience would be young and old, male and female. Something that would really be, appealing to everybody. So I ended up writing a book called The Changing Season, and it's a coming-of-age story with a young man who's trying to find his way in a generation today which is somewhat entitled, right, with not the work ethic that previous generations have had. Fortunately, he has, as his sidekick, Jimmy, who's this lovable mutt who kind of walks through him through this whole process. So the book comes out in February. I'm really hoping that people love it. We've gone out and got some amazing endorsements to include Richard Paul Evans, Ed Asner, Susan Wilson, and the list goes on. And really, I feel like I'm just getting started, right? So I'm kind of, a couple of years from now, I'll be hitting 50, and I think I've finally hit my stride. What I tell a lot of the kids that I help teach and hopefully inspire in conferences and workshops that, we don't get what we wish for, we actually get what we work for. And I'm really probably most proud of the fact that I've worked very hard in the last 20 years to get to where I am today. And having people who give me feedback on the books that I write, which makes them laugh, and even more so at times makes them cry and kind of reflect on their own lives, is a very powerful thing for me. And I'm grateful for everybody who's out there actually reading my stuff. So that's me, Steve Manchester. I really am happy and thankful for the time that you've taken today to get to know me. I can be reached at stevenmanchester.com. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. I promise I'll get back to you, and we can start a dialogue there. Other than that, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.